Networking, effective communication. Those are terms that can be pushed out in the business world or even in any professional field. However, why is this important? What is the expected outcome of effective communication? What is the expected outcome of networking? Who needs to be present when we network? What is the environment that we are communicating in? Some say it helps to build confidence. Some might say it allows me to be visible amongst the right people. Others say it's to expand business contacts. My name is Kay, and I am your host for episode 8 to discuss networking. We will be exploring this today, concluding with a special announcement.
Chain shark seafood, tell a soundboy better stay calm, be cool.
So, brothers and men, kings and generals, let's welcome the listeners.
Greetings. I hope everyone's all good, listeners, and also men. I hope you're all good. Let's get it.
Yeah, same here. Another episode. Here we are.
100%. Thank you very much. Good that you are all present in the room. Jay, I'm not sure what you said, but I heard a squeal, so I'm going to assume it means you're good.
Hiya.
Okay, there we go.
Don't ever say it like that.
No problem. We're going to use that as his version of effective communication and move on positively. There we go. So, what I want to bring to you today, listeners, and to you brothers, is aspects of networking and communication and what we have experienced whilst doing the business, whilst doing the podcast, what we're going to learn and take forward, as well as what challenges might there be when we want to network successfully or to push back when networking doesn't go as successful as expected. The first aspect I want to throw out there to you lot. If I was to ask you to share what networking means to you, how would you describe it? Jump in whenever you're ready. What's your definition of networking? Describe that for me.
Networking. I think putting yourself in spaces, places to build new relationships and to find new opportunities.
I like that. Building new relationships and finding new opportunities. That's a good start. Can you expand?
Yeah, I don't like the term networking, and I'll explain it in a moment. But I would say it's choosing the right tools for your toolbox. And what I mean by that is, like, all of us men will have a form of a toolbox, even if it's a drawer in the house or something like that. But we'll all have different tools, and depending on what our tasks and what our goals are, we're going to have different equipment. So you kind of find the things that you need to kind of maybe either sustain or enhance your project. That's the way I look at it. But networking, I don't like the term personally, just because I've seen so many times and so many bad examples of how people feel pressured to be something or someone that they're not, because they feel that that's what is required of them in their chosen industry. Furthermore, it can also produce nepotism, which involves favoritism.
That's interesting.
Towards relatives or friends or even associates. But for me, in terms of when I have to deal with this aspect, it's quality, not quantity. And it's about building the right foundations. Don't just do it for networking's sake. Do it because it means something and it adds value one way or the other. That'd be that's how I personally feel about that's what I feel it means and what it should mean.
So tools, so having a toolkit. Okay. Understand.
Yeah, thank you, man, for that input. That's strong. That's strong. For me, there are two types of networking. One is obviously the physical part of networking, where you physically attend different places and just be in different rooms with people, just having conversations, whether it be for professional reasons or other reasons. Then there are, like we do nowadays, everything is on social media platforms. I believe a lot of people now would have LinkedIn or something along those lines. That's also another way of networking, where just putting your profile
That's
up
true.
and what you do
Mm.
will get you to start conversations with the right people, or even you don't even have to apply for a job now. Just having your profile out there and what at least what your qualifications are and your experience, you get recruited. So even some people may find it easy to go down that route. But the best part of networking for me is to be in a room where you're not the smartest person.
Okay.
You learn a lot. You don't have to be out there and be talking to everyone. But imagine just going in a room and then just watch, just observe.
And you're absorbing.
Yes.
And that feeds into one of my original premises at the start in regard to who needs to be present when you network. So for you, having people who are of a higher level of knowledge is a good example of networking for you, so you can absorb and learn
100%.
more. Okay, I hear that.
100%.
I hear that. I hear that, man. Thank you much for that. Just to get a good little breath of what it means for yourselves. We got opportunities, we got the toolkit as well as quality, and we got being amongst people who have a higher level of knowledge than you. So keeping that in mind on your description of networking, how do some people get that wrong? What are the shortfalls of not getting network correct?
The shortfalls for me are obvious. I think I mentioned it a moment ago. The quality is diminished. Sometimes if you overdo it, or if it's overkill, or if it's done for the wrong reasons, then you may have a vast amount. Let's use, I don't know, followers or subscribers, or how many business cards you give out. Like the quantity might be high, but is the quality, like, let's say you give out 1,000 business cards. Did you have 1,000 meaningful conversations where people actually understood who you were and what you was about when you handed it over, in comparison to someone that had 50 meaningful conversations before handing that business card over? The positive is I've been able to get rid of 1,000 cards, but the shortfall is actually, are they just going to be thrown in the bin straight away? Did I leave an impression? So that would be one. And the other one, as I mentioned also, is if you are doing it for the wrong reasons, just to get your numbers up or just to get your face out there, because you're, and I'm not discrediting people that do that, because there's benefits for it. But if you're doing it with the wrong intentions and it's not meaningful, then you can become or be seen as someone that is just always out there, always doing this, always doing that, and they're just doing it just to get clout, or they're doing it for the numbers, or they're doing it just to be seen rather than just to be known what they are. So they're shortfalls for me, and being in the wrong spaces. But if you go to every event under the sun without kind of detailing or understanding what that event is, then you could be wasting your own time as well.
Interesting. I like that. I actually agree with a lot of the aspects that you said there. I will add my own as well, but I'll wait till everyone jumps in first. T.
What I think is this: it depends with what field you're in terms of what just said there. Some people play on the numbers game. Do you know what I mean? Perfect example is if you've ever been out to either a party or a club or something like that. You leave and then all the cars are plastered with leaflets, flyers for the next event.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's experienced that at some point.
Exactly. So it's a numbers game for them. That works because out of 1,000 cars, 500 will know there's a next event and they'll turn up. So that's business. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I get where you're coming
Whereas,
from. Can I just ask you another question on top of that? Do you think
yeah,
that is effective communication? And do you think that is good example of networking?
it wouldn't be good example of networking, but for them, if you're looking at profit, that's effective, isn't it? Because the 500 that you got, you wasn't going to get them
Okay, but where's the
unless
shortfall?
in terms of what?
In terms of the example you just gave, where is the shortfall of that?
Would that not be marketing more so?
You could market, but that's what they're marketing, isn't it?
Is networking and marketing part of the same strand?
I would
That's
say
another
so.
question.
I would say so because if you're looking at, okay, if you spoke to someone and then gave them your business card,
Mhm.
yeah, what are you doing? Are you networking or are you actually also marketing at the same time?
I see your point. I see your point. I guess
Because the
here's
end
my
goal, sorry to cut you there,
yeah.
because I'm looking at the end goal. The end goal would be business. You can have a conversation, you can have a good conversation and really get on and experience a good connection with someone, but it's not going to end there. It's going to
Yeah.
then end as a business transaction.
I see your point there. However, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. If the flyer sells the ticket
Hmm.
and that's part of the leaflet, that's part of the marketing, someone could argue that that is poor networking by the example of you've sold the product, but you haven't sold the business. You've sold the product, but you haven't exchanged details. You sold the product, but you haven't developed additional relationships with like-minded people. So I'm just being devil advocate. I'm not saying that you're wrong or right. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I hear you, and it's good we have these conversations. That's why I said it depends on what business.
Yeah,
Because,
mm,
like
yeah.
I said, if you're a promoter, say a club promoter, yeah, I've achieved my goal. My goal is to get numbers in. I've got numbers into the venue. Good music, good vibes, good drink, food, whatever you're doing, they're most likely to come back. It doesn't have to have a personal touch to it. Do you understand? Whereas some businesses, they have to have a personal touch. Whereas
mm,
our business don't. As long as I've ticked the boxes of what you wanted, you're gonna come back. You don't have to know who owns it.
Yeah. See, I think what you've touched on, actually, you've opened up a universe of aspects of business, because just using the flyer example, putting that on the cards, that is part promotion, part marketing for the next event. Yeah. I guess if if you are a promoter and another promoter or another business person was to go to that event, and they then approached that promoter and said, you know what you could do, I do promotions in another town and city, and actually what I've been able to do is I've done this and I've done that, and that's actually gained massive numbers by doing just using these few techniques. That part is the networking part,
that's
because
true.
now someone's actually giving you a tool or a gem
Mm,
from the same industry to say this is what you could do, and that, thank you for that. Yeah, what's your number? Like, we should we should do a joint event, or I should come to your spot, then you come to our spot, and then we make it bigger and bigger. That's the networking part. So I think it all intertwines, like, for those type of industries. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. After the dance, flyers everywhere, 500 people going to pick it out of 1,000 or even 50 or 100. So you've promoted the next event, and that you've marketed it to be
okay, okay.
better.
I'm gonna cut you there. Don't want you to step into the
Sorry.
realms outside of where we are going, because yeah, I mean, you can't take all my plate of food at one time. All right, it's in sections. It's vegetables first, then some carbs, and then we get into the meat. You
No,
get me?
I chop it all together. But anyway, yeah,
I was
I'll be
about to
quiet.
say that's not how I was taught, but yeah.
Well, I actually tend to eat the dessert first because I got a sweet tooth. But there you go. Jay, I want to bring you in. Any shortfalls to networking that you've either observed or seen, or just in general that you think is out there that we need to know?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Some people may not pick up on it. And by saying that, perception is a shortfall. Being able to read a room, some people can walk into a room and not be able to read it, not be able to sense the energy of a room,
Yeah.
not know how to conduct themselves within that room, because you can go to a networking event or just doing networking in general, and you can have the best business idea, the best opportunity, but how you present yourself, how you can conduct yourself, which we've spoken about in previous episodes, that could be a shortfall. Someone can look at you and immediately write you off. Or if
100.
you're representing a company, you could say the wrong thing to the wrong person, not really knowing who they are, and that puts your whole career in jeopardy. So I think it's knowing how to conduct yourself is the main shortfall when it comes to networking, being able to read the room and how to carry yourself in those arenas.
That is a excellent aspect. I think a lot of networking and effective communication is actually about building that rapport, getting that vital relationship, because the business aspect and the product and that can all come secondary. But if that person doesn't get along with you or doesn't sync well with you, we're never going to talk about products and money and services, are we? Because you don't even like me. I think one key aspect where people get effective communication wrong and networking is being scripted, having a script and not being able to be versatile, not being able to adapt, and not being able to see each singular person as an individual. That can be very off-putting to a potential business partner, potential customer, or the public at whole. People want to feel valued and they want to feel this is for me. It encourages engagement. If you want someone to be engaged with you, make it about them. Which means if I'm going to engage with you, I need to talk about you and ask you about you too. Not coming here with a script trying to promote my business, get my number out there, get my email out there. Then it's all about me. And especially when you're networking amongst other businessmen or businesswomen, that might be off-putting. It might be counterproductive to the reason why you went there in the first place. So in thinking of that, I know M and T were digging into. Sorry, T, yeah?
Sorry, okay, can I just add as well another thing
Yeah, man.
that I just thought of? Someone told me this, and yeah, I didn't see the use of it until recently. Someone said, if you're networking, try and stay away from politics
Why is that though?
because it can be an emotive subject, and you don't know who's who, and you can offend people. So the best thing to do is to try and stay as neutral as possible. So
Okay.
you stay away from politics and emotive topics.
I think they say
See,
politics and religion as well, don't they say?
Yeah.
so that's one of the reasons why I don't like the term networking, for that very reason. But
Okay.
that's for another podcast, I guess.
Nah, not at all. Sorry, I want to understand a little bit more about that because it's important to you, M. And clearly there's something there that you've experienced that we might not be privy to. So
No, it's like that's what I mean. Like you mentioned scripted, and obviously that is probably good advice in a lot of arenas where networking events and stuff like that happen. But immediately you're reducing a topic or a level of conversation that might actually mean something to you or might be something that you're passionate about. So immediately you're kind of on your P's and Q's to appease. And I know that we all have to do it at certain parts of our life or certain areas of our life to get on socially. But that's just one of the things of us where like, oh, I don't want to be going into an event thinking, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't want to go into an event thinking I've got a mind, not that I've got a mind what I say, because you do, everyone has to do that to get along. But I don't want to think, oh, I can't talk about this because that it's hard to explain. I just think there's too much mental. I haven't got the time to be thinking, okay, I've got to be this way or whatever. I don't, I can't do it.
I understand.
But yeah, I can't really explain too tough.
That brings another question for me, because like I said, there are different types of networking, right?
Hmm.
You've got the business and the social networking, and I think maybe we need to be clear on what's what, because I feel like if it's social networking, you don't have to worry about the P's and Q's and be a bit descriptive. But if it's business, the main objective is business. You can be passionate. Obviously, other people have got their passion is their business, but you'll find that if it's business, it's business. So there has to be a different level of etiquette and a different level of appeasing other people, because ultimately what you want is to drum up business, which entails to cash and profits and everything else aligned. So to me, if I'm going to offend someone by going on about the conservatives and the Labour and not get that business, I would rather not have that conversation. But if it's a social networking, we can have a conversation that can be as passionate as I want.
Here's the
Because to
thing
me,
though,
it's
T.
50-50.
Just to shed like my view on that. The advice that I was given about networking was that the one of the main reasons for networking isn't actually about drumming up business. It's actually about getting into good books of other business people so they keep you in mind with their customers. If you're a small business stepping into, as you said, T, you want to be in a room amongst people who are far more knowledgeable, far more successful. So you're surrounding yourself with people who are, so you can always absorb whatever is in that room. Now, if you manage to build good rapport with these people, good relationship, they will keep you in mind when it comes down to, oh yes, I spoke to T. He said he does X, Y, and Z. I've got a few customers, and they pass your information. It's not necessarily about, because you're not trying to get a sale from that businessman or businesswoman. You're not going to a networking event that is full of all business people and trying to get sales from them, because they aren't customers. They want to sell their product too. And the reason why they enter into a networking event is simply to exchange details so you keep them in mind. That's what advice was given to me. Of course, we'll go into the situation with Birmingham soon, but that was one of the advice that was given to me prior to going to the Eon event. Don't go there thinking that you're trying to drum up sales. You're trying to collect contacts and be memorable. So, of course, it's not an exact science, but I just thought, as an inverse to what you said around getting the sales or the product being sold, drumming up business, I got another piece of advice which was in opposition to that, if that makes sense.
Just to add to that, I think in the industries that I've been in and worked in, where drink culture is very prevalent,
Oh gosh.
it is the social creates the business. And what I mean by that is, like, in terms of promotions, or like you said, Kay, in terms of being thought of or being put in the eye of, I don't know, the senior person because I saw you at the social event. Believe me, like Christmas parties or summer events and stuff like that, like, or even like the Fridays after work, a lot of the business part, whether it's getting promotions internally in a business or whatever, a lot of that actually happens because of the social. So I think, once again, a lot of it is intertwined when it comes to networking, good and bad. But for some reason, those Christmas parties, man, like you can become a you can become an infamous star overnight. But even if it's infamous, you're remembered.
Yeah.
And I've seen many times where someone's maybe done something wrong or whatever, or kind of said the wrong thing or done the wrong thing because alcohol's involved, but still, you still seeing them climb up that ladder. That's what I'm saying.
Say no more. So then, with all that being said, brothers, men, with all that being said, is it vital? Is networking vital to success? What's your views?
I would say yes. Obviously, depending on what level you are at. Because like M just said, most things will happen at those social events. Some would say most business deals are closed out on a golf course
Oh
or
yeah,
places like
yeah,
that. Yeah. So it just
100%.
depends on what level you're trying to get to. Because as you alluded to earlier about those people, they're also there for selling, but what makes it more profitable for everyone is they will also refer their customers to you. Now,
Yeah.
if they didn't have a good impression about you, are they going to refer their customers to you? And I know we'll touch on the Birmingham Business Conference. There
Mhm.
was a discussion that happened, and things kind of went left from there.
You won't be expanding, by the way, as much as
Right?
you're comfortable with, of course, of course, of course.
Indeed.
Cool. JM, do you believe networking is vital?
It depends on your goal. It depends on the industry. So yes and no. There's a lot of in the modern technological area, someone could become an overnight success, create a crazy startup, and not have to do any networking at all, and they can shoot up the ladder. And then there's people who have
That's
to
true.
do that slow grind and have to go here, have to shake hands, have to conduct themselves properly, have to put themselves in rooms to get opportunities to shoot themselves up the ladder. So yes and no. Personally, for me, what I do, it is.
Seeing, and that's a very good aspect that you're bringing into this as well. The modernization as well, of course. We don't need to physically be present in networking rooms anymore, even though it's still good to do that, to be physically present, but that has limitations in itself. Whereas the online aspect of it, you could always be present wherever. So you're completely correct there. Yeah, thank you much for that. That's that's a good point. M, do you believe networking is vital to success?
Having the right tools and the right connections is vital to success. I agree with Jay. It depends on the goals. It depends on the ambitions. Everyone's got different ambitions. Some people want to be that big company. They want to be that big star. Some people want to just do a little thing or just build slowly, because that's what they can manage and that's what they want to do, and they want to have things more meaningful. But it's vital to have the right tools and the right people to go to and the right connections. That's what I would say on that. Like I said, the term networking, I'm a bit, maybe because it's my personality style as well, that might
Mm,
play a part in it. But yeah, that's my response to that.
thank you for that. Much appreciated. So here's what I want us to think about now. And viewers, I want you to really hone in on this for us as well, because this is a personal aspect of our business, of what you are listening to now, one step away from. What opportunities, since we started this podcast, since we've made it a official business, what opportunities has it offered to you as individuals when willing to or wanting to engage the public, people who you don't know, or that it has offered you from people who you do know? What benefits has you gained in regard to effective communication and networking as a result of the podcast and as a result of the business?
Loads of opportunities, some that have been taken up and some that haven't, if I was being honest. But that's more of a developmental thing for me. The experiences since doing the podcast, I'm just going to separate it because the business and the podcast, there's a difference between the two actually, even though they are
100.
linked. Um, but I think it's more the opportunities. I have always been there. We've always had discussions. I've always been around people where we discuss or have opinions on a lot of the topics that we've spoken about over the last 3 seasons. But the difference is, and the benefit that I've physically and mentally had, is that we now have a reference point, which technically is marketing, technically is promotion, but also we are becoming a network of information. We're becoming a document library. We're becoming a source of reference. And what I mean by that is, if I'm talking on a subject, whether it's schools, whether it's health, whether it's mental health amongst the community, whether it's how we dress, whether it's
yeah.
anything like that, I can not only talk about it, but also go, you know what, me and my fellow men that have a podcast, we talk about this. Here's a link, or I send you a link. I'm going to forward onto you. Recent example was literally yesterday. Someone was talking to me about, you know, it's so important to look after. Or they were giving me advice to look after yourself, like your health and your wealth. And I was like, 100%. You should. And then I forwarded on like episode 3, I believe. Might not be 3, might be 5. Episode 5 of our own podcast, because a lot of the things that they were saying, that's what we were talking about. So the benefits are that I can now actually go, you know what, depending on how much time we have, all right, we've got 5 minutes, or I'm just walking by, listen to this, because we actually talk about that and go into depth on that. So the massive benefit is that we now can actually go to our library to provide to other people that may have similar interests or concerns.
And the thing is, just to add a little caveat on top of that, your own doing that is effectively your business card.
Yeah.
So wow, yeah, love that. Cool, brothers, where we at?
Yeah, man. The growth in relation to the podcast has been immense.
Okay.
I'll have to say, if we go back, brothers, yeah, to when we actually started this, yeah, to where we are now, I feel like we were having conversations before anyway, before this, but there wasn't any conviction of, right, listen, how our minds work is the right way. There wasn't any conviction to be putting ourselves in places or positions to grow more with like-minded people.
Seeing.
But since we started this, the growth has just taken off to a different level. It's one of those things, like someone said to me, have you ever wanted to buy a car? Or better example, if one of your family members bought a car, a make and model of a car, you start to see it everywhere, don't you? Have you ever realized that? So let's say your cousin bought a Vauxhall Corsa, right? Random.
And then suddenly they become like, your mind's more attuned to seeing that.
They become so visible, don't they? Right in front of you, you see them everywhere. But whereas prior to that, you wouldn't have even noticed them. That's exactly how I feel like this has brought to the forefront of us on
I see your point there, you know.
level. On a business level, it's made me personally understand more or look more into how business actually operates, just on a day-to-day basis. Conduct, taxes, finance, and also it pushes you to be independent when you realize actually owning a business and working for yourself is way more beneficial than most people would have you think. That's
that as honestly, your examples there are very similar to mine as well in regard to growth. So yeah, that hit home with me. Appreciate that one. So Jay, what opportunities to communicate with others since starting the podcast and the business that came a little bit later has that offered to you, whether people you know or you don't know? What other opportunities have come to fruition, has been available to yourself as a direct result of the podcast and the business?
You know what's funny? Yeah, the most engagement I've had around the podcast and the business is when people seen the merch.
Go on.
Like seeing me wear something regularly, branded. They've seen it once, they've seen it twice. You see them watching you. You're watching them watching you, and you're seeing their brain like, what's that? Like, oh, like the first edition where it was just the 6 black men, no faces, but just seeing that imagery is not something you tend to see on clothes. Then obviously the one step away from them podcast. Oh, what's that podcast about? Is that you? Yep. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, is that you? Oh, what's the podcast about? Oh, is it a business? Oh, you lot got a business as well. What's the aspects of your business like? So for me, branding, because we have a business and we have a platform, has provided the most engagement, which leads to conversations, which leads to followers, which leads to subscribers, which leads to interaction.
Seen.
Do you know what I mean? Just
man.
being visible in the marketplace. I think just us being visible in the marketplace has just led to loads of different opportunities. People want to work with us. People want us to work for them. They want to work for us in some capacity. They want to do partnerships. And some come to fruition. We have meetings. Some are serious, some are viable now. Some, needs a bit more time. But just being visible in the marketplace has, that's been the most positive contribution, I think.
Excellent, man. And just to say as well, Jay, you could effectively say that your own merchandise is also your business card.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And following on that, I've never heard of these merchandise things. Like, what are they? Where can they be found?
www.onesaf.co.uk.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say that one more time?
www.onesaf.co.uk.
Oh my word, you can get merchandise there?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my word, that sounds like effective communication. Good stuff. There you go. Shameless plug. So, all right, stepping into, we're going to have a little game now. And imagine yourselves in a scenario where you are put on the street to face the public, to talk about something you are passionate about. It could be one step away from. It could be a subject matter in one of the podcasts. It could be something you are specifically passionate about. I know we all have our own subjects that we really like to push forward. However, the aspect here is going to be of challenge, of being slightly, not too, but slightly uncomfortable. How will you respond in the moment? So keeping that theme and scenario in your mind, I'm going to give each one of you one sentence, one phrase, one question, one comment that will be a little bit challenging. And I want to know how you are going to respond in the moment. Be as honest as possible, be as real. Let's just do this thing. Yeah. So the first one I'm going to target. T. Are you ready?
I knew it.
We gotta say that. Wow.
You know when you're just like, I know he's having it, but
wow.
go on, I'm ready.
All right. So you're on the street. You're wearing the one SAF. I'm gonna call that a uniform. You got the garms on. You got the hat on. You got everything ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And you're talking about a subject that you're really passionate on. Here's the comment that comes from a onlooker, from a listener that you're trying to engage. How would you respond? Well, the words sound good, but what are you actually doing?
More than what you're doing, but no. That's no wild. I think obviously with every action, words have to come first. So the fact that I'm out here talking is the first step. And then actions are following.
Mm-hmm.
Words are good, but what are you actually doing? Oh, we've got a podcast. If that's not enough, we've got a website. We've also got a business that we've opened.
Seen.
And we've got plans for much, much more. That's what we're doing.
Good answer, brother.
That's on the business side. On the personal side, I'm also growing. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally, intellectually. That's what I'm doing. I'm reading more books than I've ever done before.
Seen.
I've got married since the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
These are steps that are showing that what we're doing is just not words. I know you said one sentence answer, but yeah.
No, man. The answer can be as long as you want. That was it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it, man. Because sometimes we are put in a situation that we're not comfortable with. All right. M. Keep in mind with the scenario, you're dressed to the socks in one SAF merchandise, which is found where again? I can't remember.
www.onesaf.co.uk.
Okay, I don't know where you came from, but where's M?
Well, we've got followers and listeners from all up and down the country, and
that's true
globally
actually.
as well. So
that's effective communication.
You know what I mean?
There you go. All right. So someone comes up in your face, like in your personal space, right? Finger pointing.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, he or she says, what you're saying causes contention with me.
Okay.
How do you respond?
Well, I'll tell them to move their finger out of my face if they're pointing at me. And then I'll ask them what aspect of what I'm saying is causing contention. And if they tell me what it is, then I'll know how to respond.
So, interestingly, your first immediate response is to remove or to regain your space.
Of course, because if they genuinely had the effort and energy to approach me and say and feel that something's causing contention, I want to know why. Because I'm interested. I'm quite an inquisitive person. Like, believe it or not, like I like to think if I speak, then there's meaning behind the words that I say. So if someone's actually saying, you know what, I don't like what you're saying, I want to know why, because that I might be able to learn something from that. But you're coming into my personal space, so you're making it more than what it needs to be, because we can have a conversation, or space is going to be invaded and taken away or regained one way or the other. So you have to regain that space, because if not, if I'm like, what do you mean? What are you in contention? Like, I don't care, blah blah blah. Then immediately there's a confrontation, and like, yeah, that doesn't really get anywhere. So, yeah.
And we don't want to be one step away from negative outcomes anymore. So,
well, that's the aim. Like, we all know that sometimes in life that we're gonna come across things that we have to react, and it is what it is. But the aim and the mentality, and one of the things that we try to do and demonstrate is that we don't want to be one step away from. So if someone was to ask me the question that asked T, what are you actually doing? Well, that is an aspect of what we're trying to do. We're trying to not put ourselves into one step away from situations, like immediately aggressive or whatever.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated. Jay, coming to you for the final last one. You are on the street. Yeah, repping one SAF merchandise. You're talking your piece that you're passionate about. You know your stuff, right? And someone comes up and just decides to question you.
Okay.
And say, okay, where are you getting your information from? How would you respond?
First, under my breath, I'll say, yeah, man.
Wrap up. It's time to pack up, boys. It's time to pack up.
You just diminished everything I said about one step away from.
Well, I said under my breath so they wouldn't hear it.
But they go, what? What did you say?
Oh, man. So for the listeners, obviously Jay is joking here, and he's going to say his real answer now.
Yeah. Well, depending on the topic, I can use my references. I could say that I'm actually quoting statistics for the government papers or research or my own experience, and I can explain to them, well, I've actually lived through this, so this is where this is first-hand information.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Just giving them something to go to. I'm not just going to say, oh, because I feel said so. Is like, no, there's research done on these topics, multiple research to back up what I'm saying, and my own experience. So which cannot be discounted. I think that's probably the most valuable. If I've lived through it, I think I should have the right to talk about it.
That's excellent. Again, it's another good response. And listeners, I threw this at my brothers for a reason, because effective communication is a skill. It's not something that people can just get. And sometimes the communication doesn't necessarily go your way. You might enter into an environment or a scenario where you have the intention of saying ABC. However, when you're dealing with people, they're individuals and they might have a difference in view. And therefore, challenging situations can occur. So I thought to put these men into semi-uncomfortable situations. And this is going to become more prevalent as to why at the end of this podcast. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about one last subject. And this is about networking. This is about Black excellence. In the year of 2022, the 28th of May, some little black man by the name of K traveled to Birmingham. And later, some little black man by the name of T followed. Where did we go, you may ask?
I'm not having little, bro. That's I'm not having it.
Don't internalize this, T. Come on
No,
now. Come on, don't internalize this. Some black man by the name of K traveled to Birmingham, and some black man by the name of T followed shortly after. Why did we go, do you say? Well, on the year of 2022, the 28th of May, we went to a Black Excellence event. And this was a Black business networking event where we observed multiple Black businesses, from small to larger ones, of all different fields, come together under one roof. It was a sight to be seen. I've never been to anything like that in my entire life, and it was something that we want to replicate. What we want to share with you lot for today, briefly, our take from it. So I would like to, even though everyone here didn't go, I would like everyone just to express one major take from that event. And this will be shown on our website in the future to come. So you'll be able to observe the images that were taken there. So please, what did you take from that event? It was a major thing for me and for us as a business. So let's jump in.
For being an onlooker, I took away that it's possible for Black people to have successful businesses.
Level.
For me, it told me as an onlooker as well that we as a business have a lot of work to do, because
Level.
that's where we need to actually be on the other side of the event, where we're actually got our own stall or stand. So that told us, and going back to the growth and going back to the plans that we have, that has told it, okay, it can be done. We can see people doing it. We want to be on the other side of the fence, where people are coming to our stall or stand, and we can talk about what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it was inspirational. For me, it was just, a moment of realization how important representation is. It made me think, just even outside of the business conference, it was in schools for our younger brothers and sisters, for our kids,
Yeah.
how important it is to have representation, and how important it is when we get that token month of Black History in October to actually discuss topics that shows us a good representation of who we are,
100.
because that inspires you. If it's inspiring us in our 30s to just go to a business conference where people are being successful, what could it do in schools?
Boy, you're right.
What could it do in our own homes by teaching our kids the good Black history? What could it do?
Hmm.
So yeah, man, it was good, despite the ending be a little bit rocky.
Oh,
But
I was about to draw you out. So in theme of the challenging circumstances, uh,
Mhm.
in theme of the challenging circumstances, what challenging situation did you experience?
Obviously networking. The conference is done, and we've gone for networking. We went for a meal. Everything was
Mhm.
all good, obviously, with all these successful people, and we're the sort of new kids on the block, and we're having conversations. And this is why I made a comment about sometimes you've got to stay away from certain topics and politics and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because a certain topic came up. I won't go too much into detail because that can also draw out other people. Um, in regards to relationships, and
Of course, it had to be TA relationships, didn't it? But crack on.
I think this is what happens sometimes when you have these conversations. Other people will get triggered, and viewers and listeners, you've got to be able to read the room, like Jay said. When that happens, you either decide to press on forward with it, or actually just take a step back. And in this particular case, I realized what was going on and the triggers that had come up. I decided to take a back step and then just let things calm.
And I tell you what, T, being an observer of that, a direct observer, literally across the table, I could feel the tension in the air growing.
Mm,
And because of your passion, I'm just talking about from my point of view, seeing it, because of your passion for a particular subject and a certain level of comments that were not sitting well, I think the conversation was actually healthy. But because it wasn't being received in the manner of let's both move forward positively from this, you read that room in an excellent way. Like the way I saw you navigate that was like, okay, this could actually go south, which isn't the purpose of us even being here. So let me just navigate my way to a point where we're both good. And it
we could have
worked.
got bad from.
It could have went mad. It could. But because of your ability to use effective communication in a networking environment, it stopped it from doing that. So credit to you, man. Credit to you. You clearly have these skills. I guess this was this your first networking event that you've been to?
Yep, it
Cool.
was.
So you weren't
It
taught it
was for
then?
both of us.
This is what I'm saying. Is these skills need to be learned if you don't have it already, or it needs to be part of your character. So my take from this was it was just refreshing. It was refreshing and it was uncomfortable, and I loved it. There was a level of anxiety, I think, because I entered there by myself as well. But it was in the motion of, listen, I've got to put my hat on now. I represent my company now. I represent my brothers, my directors now. It's time to step up. You wanted to be involved in this business world, right? Cool. Walk in the room then. And when you walk in it, stay in the room, even though it's comfortable. Sorry, even though it's uncomfortable. Stay there. And after a while, the nerves dropped, the anxiety dropped, you're amongst your people, which is where you want to be, and you're all talking about the same subjects of business. And it was just lovely going around to speak to each person. I made sure to go to each person that had a stall there, that had a stand, and just to take pictures with them, to talk about their business. And it's going to be on our website, where it's going to be demonstrating the different businesses that I and we engaged with while we were there. So it was just a refreshing and an uncomfortable experience for me, but uncomfortable in the essence of a positive aspect. Learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. All right. So wrapping this podcast up, I mentioned at the start that we had a special announcement. And yes, we've been talking about networking. We've been talking about effective communication. What is this all leading to, might you ask? Well, on the 16th of December, this year, 2023, one SAF is going to be on the streets of Stratford and Olympic Park area. This will be between the hours of 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll be putting ourselves on the street to discuss and talk with you, the people. We implore you lot who are listeners who might be in the area, or if you want to visit, to come down and have the conversations with us. We are going to be around that area, and we ask that you stay in touch with our social media, because we'll be announcing where we will be at them specific times. We will be networking and not only talking about it on the podcast, because that's easy, right? But we did it in Birmingham, and we're going to be doing it again on the 16th of December 2023 in the Stratford Olympic Park area. It will be great to talk to you, whether it's agreements or disagreements, as long as we are civil and cordial, all with the impression of moving forward positively. I would like to thank all of you, man, for taking part. It's been an excellent podcast. It's been informative. It's been funny. And ultimately, it's for you people. Is there any last comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say, viewers and listeners, don't be too hesitant to not be uncomfortable or to put yourself in uncomfortable situations like Kay just alluded to. Those are the places where you will grow.
100%.
You don't have to have a business. Just go there. You might learn something. Just get inspiration. Just go there and see what other people are doing and have conversations, and it may spark something in you. That's it.
Blessings, man.
Yeah, I would just say to people listening, depending on if you're working or if you're self-employed, if you're employed, like, make your network unique to you. Don't follow trends. Don't think that you have to do something because everyone else is doing it. Make it unique to you. Just a quick example. I remember having an appraisal in a previous job, where my manager, I'll say that loosely, at the time, said to me, one of the development areas that I need to work on in order to get a good or a higher standing in terms of my appraisal is to expand my network. That's what they said. But the thing that I laughed at in my head was, you don't even know what my network is in this business, because I've worked in other places in this business in different departments. So you don't know what my network is. So fast forward 6 months time, when the operation that I was working in, we merged with another operation in the business, and a lot of the people that I used to work with, that was part of my network of people that I had genuine relationships with, they merged over to my current side, to a point where I knew everyone in the room when everyone merged together, and my manager didn't know these people. So make it unique to you, and don't think that you have to do certain things just because. And if you're comfortable with what you've got around you and your toolbox, that should be enough for you to have a genuine experience. It might mean that things might be a little bit slower, but stay true to yourself. That's what I would say.
Boom, bam. Blessings for that. Listeners, thank you very much for your time. I have been Kay, your host. This has been Networking and Effective Communication. We will definitely like you to share, to comment, to subscribe. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you on December the 16th.